First, Gamer TV.
Welcome to Gamer TV. 2005 was a vintage year in gaming. New games, new platforms, and the return of some old familiar faces. Come with us now as we count down our top 10 games from the past 12 months. It's pretty much guaranteed that every year will bring another brigade of World War II themed shooters storming the console front. This year though, one brave soldier has earned our medal for outstanding service, and that's Activision's Call of Duty 2 for the Xbox 360. Everything you loved about the originals is amplified to the very limit of endurance. Battles are bone-crushing things with flying debris and shaking ground. Graphics are simply stupendous, and heck, even the sound effects are blood-curdling. We were quite literally blown away by the astonishingly detailed graphics. Thick clouds of smoke billow, grenades spit clods of earth at you, and every line of despair is evident on the faces of your fighting brothers. The traditional Call of Duty set pieces are present, of course, and the bar is set very, very high early on, with the Pont de Hoc landings on D-Day proving electric, to say the least. Another of our favourites was this cramped and terrifying journey through a metal pipeline. It's rare that a video game actually saddens you, but the relentless violence of the missions is definitely a shock. You might even feel reluctant to pull the trigger yourself, but it's not a course of action we'd recommend. Changes in gameplay included the complete absence of health packs. Our tip for staying alive: don't get shot. The 360's Call of Duty 2 easily surpassed existing console versions and put itself on a par with any wartime shooter for the PC. While it's not a total relaunch of the series, the past few years of design experience and the power of Microsoft's new console has proved to be a perfect match. As the original survival horror game, the Resident Evil series has been around for ages. Since it started back in the PS1's heyday, the tried and tested gameplay formula has seen many incarnations, but was starting to decompose like one of its stumbling zombies.
Okay, it's game time.
A refreshing new approach was obviously needed. Fortunately, Resident Evil 4 managed to breathe exciting new life into the saga's tired old bones. For this chapter, you play the part of ex-STARS agent Leon Kennedy, who was present at the very first time there was an outbreak of the T-virus. Now, 6 years after the destruction of Raccoon City, Leon has travelled to a remote corner of Europe on a mission to rescue the president's kidnapped daughter.
I was wondering if you might recognize a girl in this photograph.
Needless to say, unimaginable horror lies in wait.
Freeze!
This time around, Capcom did away with the traditional fixed camera perspectives. Here you watch the action from behind Leon's back, making you feel like you're right in amongst the gore. You can also free-aim Leon's laser sight anywhere that needs to be shot, with different results depending on where his bullets strike. Despite the grim theme, the visuals here are nothing short of fantastic. In some areas, everything is bathed in eerie sepia, which certainly heightens the sinister atmosphere. Sure, some of the dialogue's a bit corny, but it wouldn't be a Resident Evil game without the characters' cheesy ramblings.
A little rough, don't you think?
This is survival horror's most glorious moment so far, and one of our picks of the year. Gaming heroes should be used to massive challenges. Most defeat an evil overlord or two before breakfast. However, in God of War, Sony's excellent ancient Greek-themed PS2 adventure, the moody main character had to achieve the impossible. When we first met Kratos, he wasn't happy. In fact, he stood at the edge of a precipice, about to end it all. Flashing back a few weeks earlier uncovers the events that took him to the brink of suicide. A mission from the gods to kill their misbehaving colleague, Ares, the god of war. To reach this immortal troublemaker, Kratos must fight his way through an Athens filled with mythical monsters. Conveniently, he's a bit of a killing machine. His main weapons are the Blades of Chaos, a pair of flaming swords fused to his arms with chains. These allow impressive combos, a bit like Devil May Cry's combat system, but even more accessible and intuitive. When enemies are worn down, a circle appears above them. Your cue to trigger Bonami-style sequences of rhythmic button combinations or stick movements, which result in brutal grappling moves.
I offer you the power of Zeus.
Kratos' godly employers help by blessing him with divine powers. These can be tuned up by cashing in orbs that smash scenery and enemies leave behind. He'll even bag himself Medusa's head, which turns enemies into easy stone targets. God of War's gorgeously atmospheric graphics and flowing animation complemented a truly satisfying fighting system. Far from being a Greek tragedy, this was one of 2005's adventures that you really shouldn't have slept on. Since his epic Sons of Liberty mission set groundbreaking standards for stealthy action games in 2001, Konami's console super spy didn't get to sneak around preventing Armageddon for quite some time, until he returned to the PS2 earlier this year in Metal Gear Solid 3: Snake Eater.
You don't have what it takes to kill me.
This time, we became Snake's clone daddy and were taken back to the mid-60s at the height of Cold War tension. Snake is dropped deep into the jungle to retrieve a defecting Soviet scientist before he's forced to complete his design for a four-legged nuclear warhead launching tank. To be properly covert in these unfamiliar leafy surroundings, Snake needs to blend in with the undergrowth. Using the camouflage index, he can match the appropriate pattern and face paint combo to the situation at hand. Espionage can give you quite an appetite, so to maintain stamina levels, Snake finds food wherever he can. Pretty soon, his snack collection makes it look like he does his grocery shopping at the zoo, but it pays to learn what wildlife makes the most nutritious meal. Despite this new stuff, Snake Eater stuck to the series' familiar camera system. This works fine in confined spaces, but is quite restrictive in the great outdoors. Switching from third to first-person view also remained disorientated, but there's plenty here that made those imperfections easy to forgive. Cinematic storytelling and thrilling gameplay make Snake Eater one of the year's most compelling feasts. Peter Molyneux, the visionary games designer, is famous for his god simulators. Since 1989's Populous, these have become renowned not only for their detail and depth, but also for their ample heart. His Lionhead Studios brought us the long-awaited Black and White sequel earlier this year, and while it didn't learn many from the worlds of twin guns and fast cars, it's still a brilliantly realised piece of software. This time around, the little folk who wander your Earth aren't above a bit of praying and demanding.
Hey you, Greek god! If you exist, I know you can hear me. My daughter's fallen pregnant. She says no man has touched her, so it must be down to you.
It's up to you whether you help them.
Please help me out. I'm in dire need. My life is in ruins.
Or just do things like this.
No, no, no.
The creatures return too, with their ranks bolstered by a wolf that turns out to be the most sinister looking of the lot. They can also cast epic spells, which might be very bad news for you. Resources are still created by assigning specific tasks to followers, and once you're up and running, immigrants will arrive seeking out the good life. Whatever your taste in games, the graphics here are beautiful and take in both panoramic scenery and the amusing but highly detailed faces of your conscience.
But first, we'll have to conquer the Norse.
Or free them to join us, of course.
The scale of the game is very impressive too, with your godly duties ranging from playing Cupid to fighting full-scale wars. Molyneux has mentioned that his plans for the Black and White franchise include 5 titles, and we can only hope that's true. This is a million miles away from number crunching and mindless clicking. A divine PC game and one of the year's best.
That is your destiny.
Still to come, what do a portly plumber, Premiership footballers, and a gang of reckless racers all have in common? They're all in our top 10 games of the year, which continue after the break. And in at number 5 with a bullet, it's Battlefield 2. ...2005 saw Battlefield 2 thunder onto the PC with all the force of... well, with all the force of a group of heavily armed men intent on using your eyeballs as earrings. Often regarded as the thinking man's first-person shooter, this latest Battlefield ditched storylines in favour of pure map-based combat. The visuals here are jaw-dropping, with an astonishing level of detail on display. Battlefield 2 also features many combat-ready vehicles. As well as the expected tanks and jeeps, you can fly a jet fighter, pilot a boat, or take your place as a helicopter gunner. Flying the helicopter proved more difficult, however, and we spent half our time weaving around like a drunken sailor. The realistic war portrayed here is as remorseless and intense as you could possibly want. But there are problems with realism. Some guns take what seem like weeks to reload, and it's hard to destroy a tank when your first shot renders it invisible behind banks of smoke. That's just nitpicking though. Once you get past the curiously sterile single-player mode and into online realms, it's an absolute blast. The range of weapons is all you could ask for, and if blowing up a friend's tank or mowing down a friend in a Jeep isn't your idea of fun, then you know where that copy of Animal Crossing is. Technically glorious and exciting, we reckon Battlefield 2 fully deserves its place amongst this year's best. Licensed cars, realistic handling, lifelike visuals, you can stuff them when Mario hits the track. And this year saw him race triumphantly onto Nintendo's dual-screen portable. Back in the day, Mario Kart got played to the point where you'd still see the tracks imprinted on your retinas when you were done. Yes, this was gaming addiction in its purest form, but despite using improved hardware, subsequent versions lost some of that magic. Rejoice then, because the demented cartoon Motorsport hasn't felt this good since the series debuted on the SNES all those years ago. The action takes place on the top display, with the touchscreen used conservatively, displaying race stand-ins and a top-down map of the circuit. It pays to look here occasionally, as you'll often notice hazards being launched at you from behind. Grand Prix modes come in two categories. All new tracks feature in the Nitro GP races, whereas the Retro GPs use familiar courses selected from previous editions. Now each driver gets a selection of vehicles to choose from standard karts to more outlandish rides. Battle mode has also returned, bringing the opportunity to compete on stages like a huge DS or a sickly sweet-looking cake. There's also a new mission mode where you're challenged with a variety of karting tasks. Multiplayer is the ace up Mario's sleeve here. The DS's Wi-Fi capabilities have been fully exploited. Locally, up to 8 drivers can face off with just one copy of the game. Then you can take things worldwide for the series' first online racing experience. This is the best reason to own a DS by far. This was one of the games that had gamers revved up in anticipation in 2005, and it's easy to see why. When Project Gotham Racing returned to the road, we'd never seen a racing game look this good before. Bizarre Creation series stayed true to its roots, having started out on Sega's Dreamcast as Metropolis Street Racer. From there, the series moved to the Xbox, changed its name to Project Gotham, and when PGR 2 came along, it became a firm favourite with Xbox Live petrol heads. This was a different take on the driving genre. It's not just about winning races, oh no. Here you need to win with style. Showboating manoeuvres behind the wheel rack up kudos points, which are cashed in to fill your garage with shiny thoroughbred motors. From the current-gen racing crop, not even the divine-looking Forza or Gran Turismo 4 could hold a candle to Gotham's beauty on the 360. The car models are incredible, and the city-based circuits are so accurately mapped you could drive around just sightseeing. You can even pause for a photo opportunity if you fancy it. The new cockpit view is particularly splendid. Inside you can see all the instruments as well as the driver steering and shifting gears. For most of us, it will be as close as we get to sitting in some of these prestige rides. Visually, it fulfilled its promise. In the gameplay department, if you're expecting a dramatic leap, you might be ever so slightly disappointed. Not an awful lot has changed here, but that's no tragedy, really. Gotham was a premier racing series to begin with. Konami's sublime football series, Pro Evolution Soccer, is the discerning choice for football-loving gamers.
Welcome to the game, as the fans make themselves heard around the stadium.
This year saw the 5th instalment rise above its previous heights of fine-tuned playability. A decade on the job has proved they certainly know the beautiful game.
On the right side, Arsenal.
Although the engine stayed the same, closer inspection revealed an impressive range of tweaks and improvements. Ball movement is much more realistic, with loose passes ricocheting around convincingly as the players fight for control. The familiar control system remains, but this time you'll have to rethink the way you use it. Lazily holding down the home in tackle buttons will now usually result in a foul, so more thoughtful defensive movement is required to regain possession. Attacking play is also noticeably different. Skilled players show even more flair on the ball, with volleyed or headed shots easier to fire at the goal. At long last, the PS2's version was blessed with online multiplayer, a feature that's enabled lots of fiercely competitive tournament action. It's a shame that interconnectivity with the PSP version didn't support transfers of Master League campaign data, as we'd hoped, but hey, you can't win them all. If you're really bothered about officially licensed teams and competitions, then no doubt you're already sat at FIFA's end of the stadium. But for those that value a true representation of the sport that manages to feel like the real thing, then Pro Evo's still the only footy sim worth supporting, and this is the finest yet.
He's having a go. He's done it. What a comeback.
Welcome back to the world of Burnout.
2005 brought us the latest in the Burnout series. Another dose of high-octane racing with a healthy disregard for public property. Revenge was hyped and tweaked to such wanton levels of destruction, more traditional races look like a school sack race by comparison. All those great nasty things that happened by mistake in Burnout 3 were given their own modes. Take Traffic Attack, for instance, a rampage through rush hour where civilian traffic can be mown down. Other major additions were the ramps and shortcuts. These brought enormous potential for grandstanding and for plummeting off cliffs. Extremity is everything here. Special prizes are given out after each race for foolhardy moves, including the ultimate act of violence, the vertical takedown. Here's an example. In the course of a race, we took out a rival with our wreckage, then took a tumble off a mountainside, and then destroyed another racer with a mid-air sideswipe of a giant ramp, and we still won the race. The game boasts many hidden extras too. The mere presence of Madden 06 saves on our Xbox hard drive automatically unlocks a Madden-sponsored van. Crash mode remains, and it has a new starter system. Click twice as this meter reaches its hotspots and you'll have a powerful and deadly send-off. Burnout Revenge is faster and more intense than Burnout 3, which makes it one of the fastest and most intense games ever made. Yes, it's silly, and yes, it's unrealistic, but this is the most fun you can have with an imaginary car and a console. So there you have it, our top 10 games from 2005. Keep it locked on Gamer in 06 when we'll bring you news and reviews from the bleeding edge of gaming. But first, forget any given Sunday, here's the real gridiron action in Madden NFL 06. As the frontman for EA's long-running American football series, the legendary John Madden has proved he's already down with the next generation. He's again lent his craggy face and tactical genius to Madden NFL 06 for the Xbox 360. With current-gen versions of this franchise reaching the limit of what can be achieved with the hardware, for this year's effort, it was down to Microsoft's new Wonder console to really bring some enhanced visuals to the pitch. As you can see, it doesn't disappoint on the visuals front. There's never been an American football game that looks as real as this, baby.
Reload makes the stop. First down, Vikings.
Keep rubbing your eyes in disbelief while you digest these stats. Player models are 10 times more detailed here than before, and stadiums have been improved by a factor of 50. You can make out the tiniest details, like logos on equipment, the whites of players' eyes, and we were particularly impressed with the accurate reflections on their polished helmets. The precision passing and quarterback vision features that were introduced this year have been included, but lots of the supplementary modes that we've seen recently have been dropped. For all its graphical wizardry, this is Madden NFL stripped down to its basics, that's for sure. This year, EA locked down the official NFL and NFLPA licenses to make sure that their gridiron game was the only one on the market. This would have been a real shame had the Madden series not evolved into one of the best around. Thankfully, that trend of excellence continues on the 360. The visuals are a sight to behold, even if the features have been reduced to a more basic level than we've become accustomed to. We'll give it 4 out of 5. Video games are increasingly looking to Hollywood for inspiration these days, and games have adopted a wide variety of tricks usually reserved for the big screen. An important part in this process is the role played by voice actors used to create sequences like this.
Defenders of the Helghast dream, now is our time!
For an insight into the world of game voiceover, we tracked down a team of experts.
Hi, my name is Andy. I'm one of the owners of Side. We're a production company that specialises in audio for games. So I'll take you inside, give you a bit of an idea of what we do here. The 3 sectors that we provide audio for is dialogue production, music composition, and sound design for games. And today we're going to be having a quick look at the process of dialogue production, and that starts off with casting. This is one of our production rooms. The first thing we get from the client is a casting brief. Basically, that's a document that gives you a character image as well as a bit of a backstory about that character. This is a control room. So basically the session is managed from this side, and through the triple glazing there is the actual record booth. An example of a recent project is Genji, and this was quite tricky because it was a redub of the Japanese original into English, and to keep it authentic we chose to use Japanese actors delivering in English.
They hired the voice talents of actor Togo Igawa. He's worked on a bunch of movies, including Guy Ritchie's Revolver, and more notably, in The Last Samurai, working alongside Tom Cruise. He lends his voice to many of the characters in the game, including the behemoth Benkai.
as a descendant of the Genji, I, Benkei,
shall have your life.
What?
We also snuck into the recording suite where Killzone actor Tom Clark Hill was being very vocal.
Not a double agent, huh?
Killzone, they pumped me full of steroids for about a month.
I used to have a voice like this.
By the time I was done, I was talking like this. You know what I'm saying?
They said, you know, which role do you want? And I said, I want the one with the biggest guns.
Did you hear the captain? We're delivering the package. The package is you.
What is it you need to do, hacker?
What? You're just gonna let some unknown freak hack into the mainframe? How do we know he's not a double agent, huh? What's to say he's not on the other side?
And how many of the other side do you calculate I've killed in the past hour?
Try it, scum. Come on, try it.
Well, that's what we do at Side. I hope it gives you a good idea of what we do dialogue production for games. We've got plenty more projects to be getting on with now, so I think it's probably time you guys left.
Kill him?
Next up, the item that keeps video games execs awake at night. It's the spam filter. It's official. Hollywood has finally run out of ideas. We've arrived at this conclusion with the news that graffiti adventure game Mark Echo's Contents Under Pressure has been optioned by MTV Films for the big screen treatment. The movie promises to be a homage to graffiti culture, set in an alternate futuristic universe. We aren't getting too excited about this one. While European and US gamers are having to sell their grannies to get their hands on the Xbox 360, the Japanese rather predictably have given it a cool reception. By cool reception, we mean they haven't sold very many of them. Only 28% of the consoles shipped to the territory was sold over the launch weekend. That's only 42,000 units. Bill Gates' boys have certainly got their work cut out in the land of the rising sun. Japanese fans of the Metal Gear Solid series are in for a treat. A 3-hour-long movie has been spliced together. It'll use cutscenes from Metal Gear Solid 3's Subsistence. Will we get to see this magnum opus in Western theatres? Who knows? Konami aren't telling.
You're late, soldier. Now get in here and give me 20.
The dictionary definition of psychosis is any of a number of severe mental diseases that make you believe things that are not real. The video game definition of psychosis is a gaggle of cute cartoon school kids wandering around your brain like a surreal take on the Waltons.
So, this is it. The mental world.
It looks like a dentist office.
Okay, so the video game definition isn't exactly scientific, but hey, it makes for an unusual platform game. Psychonauts from THQ is promising to be just that, and you'll take your place amongst the junior class of secret agents who work exclusively in people's minds.
A 3-pound pile of dreams. And I'll tell you what it really is. It is the ultimate battlefield and the ultimate weapon.
That's right, these spies warp the channels of your brain, and as you might have observed from looking at your friends, the mind is a warped, creepy place at the best of times. Inside, you'll find the colourful and collectible figments of your imagination, and even better, items of emotional baggage, which, if you took from my head, would be the size of commercial airliners. The Daffy style of the game means we'll be seeing some interesting visuals. That's something of a relief, as we all need another generic 3D platformer like we need a case of amoebic dysentery. Of course, these games are always judged on their learning curve, playability and humour, and we'll have to wait until February to get the final word on all of that. In the meantime, this is looking like a fun and funny little title. I think we could all do with a little less sanity these days, as long as it doesn't involve chickens. Ever since I was a little boy, I've feared chickens. Still to come, we pick the brains of gaming legend Sid Meier.
Kind of realized that we're really just limited by our imagination.
Kill or be killed in SOCOM 3. And can Ridge Racer make the next gen grade? Find out after the break.
Ooh, that's amazing!
Your engines and wear out those racing slicks in Ridge Racer.
Got your driving music? Let's get it on.
That intensely irritating DJ's voice can only mean one thing. Ridge Racer's back. If you discount last year's R Racing, and we recommend you do because it tried to go all realistic and failed to stay true to its roots, there's never been a proper Ridge Racer game on an Xbox platform.
Someone fired off some nitrous.
Considering that, it's quite a coup for Microsoft to secure the first new edition of this classic series for their newly launched 360. Ridge Racer 6 has screeched straight onto the next-gen track, no messing. Despite being powered by all-new hardware, this title sees a return to the series' well-worn gameplay formula. Forget physics, forget realism in general. This is about sliding around corners sideways with all four of your radials screaming for mercy. The series of race events are laid out much like the PSP's recent Ridge Racer, only this time you'll be traversing the appropriately titled dimension of X.
Welcome to the new Ridge universe that spreads across the horizons of X.
You can plot your own course through this strange molecular universe. Car classes advance the further to the right you travel, while difficulty increases if you opt for the higher routes. Ridge Racer's die-hard drift fans will go gaga seeing their beloved series shine with the much improved visuals the 360 offers. Gameplay-wise, aside from an online multiplayer mode, this is just more of the same and consequently a bit of a missed opportunity. We'll give it 3 out of 5.
Ooh, that's amazing!
Egypt's ancient pyramids are one of the more impressive wonders of the world. For Asil, the hero in BHV Software's PC adventure Ankh, these mysterious structures also make the ideal venue for an illicit party. When Asil borrows the key for one of the sacred pyramids and sneaks off to its inner chambers for a sly drinking session with his mates, trouble is inevitable. They accidentally smash one of the holy urns, unleashing an evil death curse.
Let's see. 6 broken urns, that means... a warning!
It was 7. Oops.
7? Well, in that case, you're in for a death curse.
If he doesn't get rid of this fatal jinx within a few hours, he's done for. Hopefully the magical Ankh he found there will help him in his task, even if it's just to crack open the beers.
Could it possibly be the Ankh?
I thought it was a bottle opener, actually.
Older gamers might remember point-and-click adventures from back in the day. Pioneered by the likes of LucasArts, these comic-style adventures were controlled by simply pointing and clicking on the item that you want your character to interact with. They became popular thanks to their often hilarious dialogue, original characters and head-scratching puzzles.
Croc's teeth. Well, that's a start.
Ank takes this old format and tries to bring it up to date with newfangled 3D visuals. This is an okay nostalgia trip for gamers who lost hours absorbing themselves in the Monkey Island games. All the vital point-and-click elements are here. But for the PlayStation generation, who've come to expect more hands-on control, Ank will seem to lack the proper gameplay they look for in their adventures. We'll give it a 2 out of 5.
And we're off like a rocket.
The Civilization series has enjoyed an enormous amount of success, and its creator is one of the biggest legends of the gaming industry.
I'm Sid Meier. I'm the creative director at Firaxis Games. I've been designing and programming computer games for many, many years. Some of them include F-19 Stealth Fighter, Gunship, Railroad Tycoon, Civilization, Gettysburg, and many others.
Most of the Civilization series, Sid Meier is unquestionably one of the pioneers of the God game genre. But what does a man with so much omnipotent power at his fingertips play when he's not tinkering with virtual worlds? Being kind of blunt, we asked him. So, Mr. Meier, what are your top 5 favourite games?
One of my favorite games is 7 Cities of Gold by Dan Bunton. It's really a eye-opening experience for all designers, I think, to play that game. The entire world was somehow packed into your computer, and I think we kind of realized that we might be involved in some sort of an art form. You know, and up till then it was kind of like a craft, and just technology was what led the industry. But I think we kind of realized that we're really just limited by our imagination. Another game that really changed the way I looked at computer games was SimCity. Up until that time, most games had been about blowing things up. But for the first time in SimCity, you actually created something, you designed something, it came to life on your screen. And we realized it was just as much fun to build something as it was to shoot at something or destroy it. I think it influenced a lot of designers.
Let's move.
StarCraft was another game I spent many hours playing. Really a perfectly balanced game. It's a classic real-time strategy game. Every game was different, every game was tense, every game was exciting. It felt fair, it felt balanced, and it just was a joy to play.
I hope you understand what I mean.
And one game that sticks out in my mind is Gran Turismo 3. For some reason, I could not stop playing that game. I would be up until 3 or 4 in the morning, just one more race, adding one more thing to my car, just improving that car a little more so I could win that race. Again, the design was superb. It felt fair, it was fun to play, and it always felt that there's something waiting for you around the next turn that would take you to the next level in the game. Of course, my favorite game of all time has to be Civilization 4. It's a game that really we've been working on for 15 years in many ways, and kind of represents what we think games ought to be. It's deep, it's engaging, it's easy to start playing. There are many different ways to play. There's no reason to ever stop playing the game. You can always choose another scenario or another strategy, another civilization. Now with multiplayer, you can play online against other players and spread joy and peace around the world. If I were locked away in a room with only one game, I'd probably have to pick Gran Turismo 3. Just so many races, so many cars, so many unlockables, so many different ways to play. I think I could happily play that game for days, weeks, and probably even months.
Over the past 3 years and 2 games, Sony's Navy SEALs have proved they can lift cars above their heads, deliver babies, repair oil rigs, and successfully explain the offside rule to your mum. Nevertheless, they're going to be back early next year with another round of squad-based world saving. We're getting much bigger maps this time, and that was evident in the preview version. We spent quite a lot of time driving about in Jeeps, and when you're not driving Jeeps, you'll be incinerating them with rocket launchers, which is fabulous. It's rather sad to reflect that this will almost certainly be the last SOCOM game on the PS2. No doubt there'll be a PS3 incarnation to look forward to that will make this one look like Frogger. For the time being, however, this will do just fine.
Has no hump, no hooves, and drinks no water.
The camel spider.
It's nice to see a game where you actually need to behave like a squadron. In SOCOM 3, you'll have to rely on your buddies to man guns and detonate charges. By the way, it's probably not a good idea to shoot those charges. According to Sony, this title has been developed with the help of real US Navy SEALs, so expect all weapons and equipment to be 100% accurate. You might also expect all the Navy SEALs to be suspiciously tall and handsome too. This looks like a fine farewell from one of the PS2's most popular franchises. With tweaked AI, voice commands and comprehensive multiplayer, we're rather looking forward to another bash at the SEALs come February. We're heading for the extraction point now, but join us next time for more Gamer TV. Hoorah!
This is Bravo. In an hour, Philip and Vivian's old activist chum turns up, unfortunately inspiring Will to get on his fresh horse and have a protest of his own. The Fresh Prince is back at 7 tonight. But next, Michael Knight on Bravo.
And we're off like a rocket.